We now continue with Smurf.
This story takes place on Archer Avenue. For the uninitiated, Archer Avenue is something of a focal point for the supernatural happenings near the Chicagoland area. From the legend of Resurrection Mary to various other unexplainable phenomena, many of my stories take place on this stretch of 33 Mile Road. At the time, I'm driving to get something to eat. It's roughly 6:30 to 7:30 at night. Relatively low traffic for a Friday evening. After turning onto Archer Avenue from 83, there is an immediate change of atmosphere. There is something in the air, a kind of stench that seemed like a mix of industrial runoff, burning rubber, and rotting meat. I am immediately on edge because of various past experiences with similar smells while alone in the wilderness. I continue to drive further on Archer Avenue, eventually coming to a part of the road where a wide clearing is visible from the right side of the road. In the field, I can see something big, like a bear but without any hair. It looks somewhere between malnourished and meaty, with parts of its body being thicker with fat than the others. It had what looked like swollen humanoid hands on its front appendages. Its head was elongated, like that of a horse, but with human and cattle features, with deep sunken-in eyes that glowed in the light of the passing light of the headlights. I am in genuine fear. It stares at me from the field as I push harder on the accelerator, quickly passing it as I wanted nothing to do with whatever the hell is lingering in the forest. As I continue driving, the smell persists, reaching something of a nauseating peak. In the faint glow of my headlights, I can see the reflection of that thing's eyes several yards behind me in the roadside ditch. This thing was following me. Out of predatory instinct or curiosity, I had no clue. But I was disturbed by the fact that it had not retreated deeper into the wilderness, instead electing to follow me. The implications of this still terrified me. It showed little signs of struggling to keep pace, meaning this thing was capable of speeds that would surely outmatch my 2011 Chevy. I could not see much of it at this point, only the reflection of its eyes and long snout, but I could tell that it was in a crouch as it pursued, attempting to keep low. It followed me until we reached the intersection between Archer Avenue and Willow Springs before dipping back into the forest. I am not sure what it was, although I have seen various things that resemble skinwalkers. I am inclined to believe this was something else, something that could have easily killed me and destroyed my vehicle with little effort. When this happened to me, I was 20 years old and a dumbass. I was a private first class, US Army MP, 31B. I get told, "Hey Anon, they need people to go to Guantanamo with this other company. It's last minute." I say yes because it sounds like a tropical vacation, a 9-month deployment with no danger. I was right, sort of. I literally just stand at checkpoints all day. It's easy as shit. I don't even have to do cop stuff because the Navy does it. I get bored with drinking, lifting, and swimming after a few months. I decide to go on solo hikes across the island on my days off. The Guantanamo Bay Naval Base is not huge. There is no way that you could wander into Cuba because of fences and cacti. I go along the ridge because why not? Part of Guantanamo Bay Naval Base that's not off limits, but no one really goes there since there is nothing really there. I come up over the hill. I am about a 2 miles walk away from anything. Oh shit, it's one of the old camps. There is nothing and no one else around. It looks abandoned as hell. I might as well check it out. It used to be a CIA black site. I get to within like 15 feet of the fence. This was where I started to feel like something was wrong. I wasn't intending to break into it or anything, but this shit was abandoned for like 5 years at this point. I start to walk around. I am trying to see inside of the buildings. As I'm walking, I suddenly see movement inside the wire. I didn't immediately think it was weird. They have these giant rats and iguanas and vultures which live there. Nope. It's a dude coming out of the building. He's wearing nothing but a pair of shorts. I start to go to call out to him. My danger sense catches up. I think better of it. He is just standing there, staring off in the other direction with his mouth ajar. I stand stock still for like 5 minutes like this. I decide to get the hell out of there. I'm starting to get really creeped out. I leave as quietly as I can, periodically looking back. He is still just standing there, but he has now turned his head and is looking at me. I book it out of there like my ruck weighs nothing. I get the hell out of there. I never go back. I never tell anyone. I stop going on hikes. I was around 4 or 5 years old when this happened to me. I was living in the middle of absolute nowhere in the rural south. I didn't have many neighbors. The closest one is like a mile away or so, and all the roads are essentially either dirt or gravel, and there is tons of thick conifer forests right outside. Sometimes I would wake up to a voice or voices outside my window. I can't recall what was said, as it was more than 10 years ago. I remember the voices sounded really odd, calm and hushed and monotonous. Sometimes I would talk back. Hello, Dad/brother, is that you? I would generally hear something shushing me when I would say this. I checked both my brother and father's beds. They would be fast asleep every single time. I found it really odd but never really got spooked by it for some reason. Sometimes I would try talking to them properly. Hey, my name is so-and-so. Shh. Oh, okay. My father told me about how he heard voices from the woods / outside his window of what sounded like me and my brother saying, Dad, come out and play with us, and stuff like that. He would check on us, and we would just be asleep. I would also sleepwalk. I have never sleepwalked anywhere else except in that house. One night, I woke up just as I was about to open up a door leading outside. It was pitch black, middle of the night. I shrugged it off and went back to bed. That happened a few times with different doors. I don't ever recall waking up outside though. I have more spooky stories from when I was a kid if anyone is interested in hearing. Here's another creepy story I have from when I was growing up. I was around 5 or 6 years old when this one happened. I discover a pile of animal bones and shells right on the edge of the woods near my property. Keep in mind that the forest edge is like 30 feet away from my house. I find an intact deer skull still attached to the spine still, turtle shells, a bunch of bones, some tufts of animal fur. Me, being a kid, thinks, oh, I will make a museum. I then proceed to make a museum. I place them all in a little row on a bench thing that we had outside. My dad is outside watering plants about 50 feet away on a different section of the property. This is an important detail. I tell my dad about my grotesque museum. He's like, what the hell, Anon? Go and wash your hands. I go inside. I wash my hands. I come back outside, and the bones and parts are all jumbled up as if they were rifled through or something. Hey, Dad, did you mess up my museum? My dad is still just watering plants. No. What the hell? Dad throws the stuff back in the woods and tells me not to touch them anymore. One more story and then I'm off for a bit. 5 or 6 years old when this happened again. I am playing out back on the property. I'm just minding my own business. It's a sunny, cloudless day. All of a sudden, this huge billow of dust just comes out of nowhere. It looked to be about 9 feet in height, and by 4 or 5 feet in circumference. It's emitting some weird-ass noise, like a buzzing or a humming or something. I try getting out of its path so I can watch it. It appears to just follow me and surround me. I close my eyes so I do not get dust or sand in my eyes. It feels like someone in the dust touched my face. I shit you not, I felt a strange sensation as if being lifted or trying to be lifted away. I stumble a bit from it, trying to get away. It disappears after about a minute or so. I am not too spooked, but more excited and mystified than anything. My dad is just watering plants like 50 feet away. I ask him, did you see that? Yeah, that was weird. My father referred to it as a dust devil. It sounded like something in that dust cloud was talking to me in a low, odd-toned voice, barely audible whispers. Maybe it was just a random dust storm and just billowing. I don't know and may never know. In the other thread, some folks were talking about getting together to go out and fighting evil beings in the woods. Well, okay, I have a story about doing just that. I am 18 years old, fresh out of high school, no job at all. I have all summer just to screw around. I joke with my cousin about going out and hunting monsters. After much deliberation, we decide to go looking for nasties. We tell our parents we're just going on a camping trip. My cousin finds a few guys with spooky stories on the internet. A select few are down with us coming by to have a look. We don't really expect anything, but pack up SKS and a few hundred rounds of surplus ammo. My cousin, his friend James and I hop in my cousin's truck and head up to the Upper Peninsula since we had 2 leads from the area. The first place is a joke. The dude suspects a baddie of some sort is tormenting him. Man, I got baddies tormenting me, if you know what I'm saying. Shit is just coyotes. Next day, we head to the next place. Now it gets really serious. The landowner dude tells us a story about how he and his friends were camping way back in the woods, and that he was stalked by some sort of humanoid near an old abandoned house inside the woods. The landowner leads us out to the place, packing a 30-30. The forest seems unusually silent. We set up camp. That night, I wake up to the sounds of shooting. Jim is outside with his Mossberg, shooting into the dark. He says he could not sleep and saw something scurrying around on all fours, checking out the camp. I calm the dude down. We sleep in shifts. The next morning, we find blood near the camp. If it bleeds, we can kill it. We eat breakfast and walk around for hours until we come to an abandoned house. We decide to check it out. We check out the ground floor and upstairs first. We don't find anything but old furniture and stuff. We need to go into the basement. The basement is just pitch dark. We draw straws. I get the short one. I have to go in first. On the third step down, a gut-wrenching scream rings out from the basement. I fall on my ass from fright and slide down a few steps before catching myself. A humanoid figure on all fours is bounding up the steps. It has dark brown skin and razor teeth. I try to shoulder the SKS. It gets a few steps in front of me before I can shoulder my weapon. My cousin hits it with a .357 round. This thing is hardly phased. I kick it, knocking it back just enough to shoulder my SKS and mag dump the thing. After much convulsing, the thing stops moving, and I shit you not, the thing turned to dust. It turned to dust right in front of my goddamn eyes. Okay, this ain't Resident Evil, it's not. This happened to me around about 1 year ago. It's about 6 p.m. I am meeting my friends in a church parking lot. All 4 of us are Eagle Scouts. Will, Evan, Brian, and me. My name is Rob. We are super excited. It's our first trip in the desert. I don't have any guns. I also don't have a 4x4. All 4 of us are crammed into Will's Ford Explorer, plus a weekend's worth of camping supplies are with us. We reach the spot at around 11 p.m. It's a rock shelf that overlooks a giant rock in California. I mention how it's kind of like The Hills Have Eyes. That movie scared the piss out of me for some reason. Will says that there are weird people out here. This is my nightmare. We pitch a tent before it gets windy. We try to sleep. I can't sleep. I stay up all night in the sleeping bag with Evan's shotgun. The next day, after spending the early morning and mid-afternoon shooting, Will and I decide to go off-roading. His Explorer is hardly street-worthy, but we go anyway. I bring water and a .22. We are having fun on a trail. The car is stuck in sand. Damn it, it's 3 miles directly to camp over impassable terrain. We decide to start digging with the butt of rifle. One digs, the other looks out for help. We dig until around 3:30 p.m. Dude, if somebody doesn't drive by soon, we will be here all night. I agree. We lock up the car, start walking to the giant rock itself. It's 2 miles away directly. Bring rifle and water. Start walking again. It's 110 degrees, no shade, no one in sight. Will mentions how this is really like The Hills Have Eyes. I am kind of freaking out a little bit in my head. I chuckle and say, yeah, nervously. About a mile in now. We keep going. We pass an old rusted out Jeep. I am seriously creeped out by now. I start to think about the movie, what happened and why it did. Were those people looking for help? I start to look at everything for a tactical advantage over anyone or anything. There were so many large rocks, shadows, Joshua trees, and rocks. Can't possibly find a tactical advantage. At this point, I'm freaking out. I ask Will if we can take a break. He says sure. I keep running things through my mind. I see a person off in the distance. I tell Will that we need to go, now. He says not to worry about it. It's probably another camper. Maybe they can help. The figure gets closer and closer. It looks humanoid, but walks like a slow monkey. Will, we need to go. I turn around and turn back. It's gone. I turn and look at Will. He says I must not be drinking enough water. Let's radio Evan and stuff to let them know where we are. We attempt radio contact. There is nothing but static. And a faint, I'm coming. I hear a screech in the distance. I start to get really freaked out. I tell Will we cannot stay here. We continue on towards the rock. I see that figure again. The radio comes on and I hear a faint, I'm coming from the radio. Something runs in front of us. It's about 100 yards off. It's a humanoid shape. I can't tell what it is for sure. There is another screech, but closer. I ask Will if he heard it. He says, yes, it was nothing. Let's go. Well, that was not nothing. The figure again appears to be closer. I tell Will to turn around. He does. He sees whatever it was. He actually yells, nope, out loud. He takes off, full sprint, towards the figure. He doesn't even have the 22. I hear a screech again, and the figure appears to be within 20 yards, but the radiating heat made it impossible to tell. I take off. I run past the figure. It tears my favorite maiden shirt right off of me. I keep running. I don't stop. I ran past the giant rock. I ran for probably another mile on adrenaline. I see a guy on a quad. I wave him down. I try to tell him what happened. He has no idea what I am talking about. He offers me a lift to Will. He calls his friend with a jeep to pull out the Explorer. I am still freaking out. Fetal position. I cannot handle it. Guy with jeep shows up. We drive right by where the figure was standing when I ran past it. It's gone. There is no trace of it. I get Will's car out. I thank them for helping us. I head back towards the camp. I ask Will to pull over, right by where the thing took my shirt. It's gone. There is no shirt, no tracks, no nothing. We finally get back to the camp. Brian says that we look pale. Will and I just nod. We have no idea what just happened. Evan says that we should eat something. That might help. I agree. After eating, I take the spotting scope out. I set up on south to overlook the dry lake bed. Nothing important is happening. There are a few fires in the distance, dust trails from other off-roaders. But about 4 miles out, I see a figure. It's moving slowly. Not towards us though. It's moving away. I do not even bring it up. It's now day number 2 and I could not sleep at all. I stayed up with my shotgun in my sleeping bag. It was very windy overnight and knocked most of our stuff down. I noticed footprints around the camp. I am freaked out. I keep my shotgun drawn while checking the camp. Evan and Brian think I'm batshit insane. I look around our fire pit. It's warm. We are missing some wood. I look into it. There are scraps of my maiden shirt and what I assume were animal bones in the pit. Nope. I tell Evan and Brian to go and take a look. They ask why I burned my favorite shirt. I didn't. Evan says it's time to go, now. We pack everything up. We drive away with guns out the windows. Will and I are having a breakdown. He can barely drive. Brian takes the wheel. We are traveling down the climb. We notice 2 crosses on the side of the trail. They were not there yesterday. I see a humanoid leaning on a Joshua tree. Brian, step on it. The creature comes out from the tree into middle of the trail behind us. It just stands there and lets out one final screech. I don't know what it was or what I saw or what. I am too piss scared to talk about it with Will because I do not like to talk about it, and neither does he. I suppressed it immediately afterwards, and it never came up until I got a reminder on my phone for the trip. I set it up to do yearly reminders, I guess. But damn, this kept me up at night for 3 weeks. I no longer wear any of my maiden shirts, and I refuse to go out there ever again. I'm scared, Kay. I never want to remember this, and maybe talking about it will help, but I think I will be sleepless for a few more weeks. Hey, hope you've enjoyed the story so far. If you want to hear more, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment because it lets YouTube know you like the content and helps more people to see these videos. My next big goal for the channel is 100,000 subscribers, and as a celebration, I will be doing a Q&A video once we hit that goal. Thank you, and back to the stories. This happened to me in eastern Tennessee. I live way up in the mountains. There are lots of back roads. I get off work at about 2 a.m. Me and my friend decide to go driving down the back roads. I follow the roads for about 2 hours. I see a little church at the end of the road. Just a reminder that this is in the middle of nowhere in the mountains. One light is on in the basement area. We pull up in the dirt driveway of the church, turn off the truck to piss and stretch. After a few minutes, the basement light goes off in the church. We hear movement inside. 4 people come running outside the church towards us. They are screaming at the top of their lungs. We hop in his truck. He throws it in 4-wheel drive, and we get the hell out of there. I will go ahead and give one more. Be me, in eastern Tennessee. Decide to go for a drive about midnight. It has been a stressful day, and I really need to clear my head. I follow the same roads I always do, but end up taking a wrong turn. I don't know the area, but I figure, what the hell? I have my GPS. If I get lost, I'll see where this goes. I follow this road for about an hour. No houses in sight, only the river on my left and the woods on my right. I see a little place to pull off at. I decide to stop and turn on the GPS. I am sitting in my car, fiddling with the GPS. I see something out of the corner of my eye outside. I turn and look, and I see the leaves moving like something was just there. I nope out of there. I decide to go explore in daylight. I retrace my steps to get to the stop-off. I see a little footpath that leads into the woods. I follow it. There are bloody mattresses strewn all throughout the side of the path. I get to a clearing in front of a cave. There is a bird bath covered in dry blood in the clearing. I look into the cave and I see nothing but darkness, but I hear a sound like feet scrambling on the cave floor and a mix between a groan and a growl. I get the hell out of there. I have 2 kind of encounters. I live in Eastern Europe. I was around the age of 14 or 15 when this happened. I am playing on a road in the forest at around 7 p.m. with my friends. I think it was autumn time. Well, nevertheless, it was already dark. The road through the forest led from the corner of my small town to some even smaller village. It was empty most of the time. Suddenly, I see someone dressed in a white hood, sort of like monks in the Middle Ages. Did that someone appear to be glowing or not? I don't really remember, sorry. But he was dressed in white, so I had no problems with seeing him. He crosses the road, goes near the lonely streetlight in the direction of a place with hardly any trees or whatever that could be blocking the view, and disappears just like that. I ask friends if they saw it as well. They say yes. We go to the house of one of us not talking about it. I get goosebumps every time I pass the streetlight. Thankfully, I don't go that road too often nowadays. The picture in the post is the place. In this place, if he was still there, we would have noticed him, because there is a lot of space between the trees, and he was fairly visible before. Here goes the second story. This happened this year, around April or May 2018. I am 19 years old now. I am trying to fall asleep around, I'm pretty sure around 4 a.m. I'm not 100% positive, but I remember being surprised that it did not happen on 3 a.m., which is the famous ghost hour. I hear the door handle from another room to the hall, so I thought that one of my parents is going to the bathroom. Also, a white light appeared in the hall, so I thought maybe that my parent is using their phone on the way. I know that was hardly possible, but screw it. It was 4 a.m. I was sleepy. I wasn't really thinking properly. A few minutes later, I realized that there was in fact no one there. The light continued to stay there for, I think, 5 more minutes. I forgot about it, until a few nights later the same thing happened. Not only the light, but the handle-like noises as well. The next morning, I asked my mom if there was any source of light that could appear in the hallway. After consulting with my dad, she says there is only the smoke detector, but our model can only emanate red light. A few days later, it appears for the 3rd time, but I'm too much of a pussy to go to the hallway and check it. I decided to do it next time, but there was no next time. Whether it simply did not appear, or it appeared only when I was sleeping. Hard chance that I cannot say. Also, my mom took my story very seriously, even though she is usually a skeptic when it comes to ghosts and stuff like that, because she is very religious, and a few months ago, I was religious as well. Now, I still believe in a God, but I'm not sure about being a Christian. Alright, here comes my story. This was in eastern Poland around 2016. I was and still am a really outdoors kind of guy. There are lots of forests nearby. I go on trips almost every weekend. I love the vibe. I never get scared in the forest because I know the worst thing that I might encounter is a wild dog or a boar, both of which are not as scary as they sound. I still carry bang snaps and a lighter on me, just in case. It's wintertime, a pretty cold one at that, but I decide to go to the forest for a couple of hours anyway. I am walking around, just chilling. Fast forward about 2 hours, I am pretty deep into the forest and my legs really hurt. I sit down and decide that I want a cigarette. I pull out my lighter and a pack of Camels. That's when I smelled it. It was very foul. This awful smell of animal shit and rotting meat. Now, I was big on Skinwalker stories at the time, so I was insta-launched into fight or flight mode. I hide my cigarettes in a pocket and look around. I am searching for the source of the smell. I suddenly hear the snow crunch a few meters behind me. I turn around and see the most grotesque sight in my life. As I recently finished Bloodborne, my first thought was Vicar Amelia. The thing was big, so big it was hard to believe something like that could just exist a few kilometers away from my home. Its wither height was almost that of a cow, and it had this weird barrel chest I've never seen on a wolf. It must have been starved. Its ribs were visible underneath its fur, and its long legs were sickly thin. What shocked me the most, though, was its head. It was big, sure, but it did not look like a wolf's head. Like Vicar Amelia, it had a long neck and a weird, elongated snout. It was almost horse-like. I completely forgot about everything I've read about wolves and how to behave around them and stared straight into its eyes. When I saw those slanted yellow circles, the huge white fangs, and heard the aggressive howl bark, all of my doubts were gone. It was a wolf, and a hungry one at that. Only now I started to realize in how deep shit I am. Wolves are afraid of humans. If it approached me, that must mean I either invaded its territory, or it was hungry. In this case, it was most likely both. I tried to stand as tall as I can and slowly back out of there while facing the wall. It was not having any of it. The way it walked was something straight out of a horror movie. These slow, unnatural movements that made it seem like a Silent Hill enemy. Knees buckling with every move, and its weight shifting in weird, twitchy ways. The sight almost made me shit my pants, but it gave me hope. The wolf must be too big for its own good. I mean, with its size, it would have been the alpha of its pack, but it's alone. That must mean it's just an overgrown mutant. Or so I thought. I grabbed a handful of bang snaps from my pocket and swiftly threw it in its face. With the speed of Usain Bolt, I dashed to the nearest tree and climbed as far as I could, but it was not enough. To give you an idea of how fast this thing was, I must have been 4 meters away from it when I threw the bang snaps and ran an additional 2 meters, then climbed up another 3 meters. It lurched forward and, much to my terror, started climbing the tree. I have no idea on how it managed to do it. I always thought wolves could not climb. My guess is it was because the tree had many branches it could grasp on. It was growling and bark howling, going crazy. I'm not ashamed to admit I literally pissed my pants. I am not thinking too much. I threw my backpack at it as some sort of last resort. I can't believe it. My jaw drops when I realize it worked. The bag hit its snout and caused it to lose grip. Its entire weight, now suspended on a single paw, was too much for the branch to handle, and it snapped. It stayed underneath the tree for a long time until it finally walked off, dragging its leg behind it. It was motionless for at least an hour after it left, and the road back to my bike was the scariest walk I've ever had. I tried telling people about what I saw, but no one believed me. The family said I was exaggerating things because it was my first time seeing a wolf. The animal services said that there were indeed wolves migrating. I don't know if that's the right word here, from Belarus, but chalked up the rest of my story as shock. So I stopped, fearing I might get admitted to a mental hospital if I insist on my version of the story. After this encounter, I did not go out into the wild until early February, when I got a camera and my grandfather's hunting rifle and went looking for the wolf. But sadly, I never found a trace of this terrifying yet strangely beautiful creature.